In this session, we are going to have an introduction of PostgreSQL. I'm also going to have a demo on how to download and install PostgreSQL onto your local machine. So PostgreSQL is a database system, the DBMS to be exact. Once you download PostgreSQL service into your machine and install it, the PostgreSQL service as the DBMS will create and maintain database storage on your local machine's hard drive. You will be able to use tools, client applications such as pgadmin to access the database. pgadmin is a tool based provided by PostgreSQL. So basically the PostgreSQL service and the pgadmin, you will download them together and install on your local machine. On your local machine, you will run your pgadmin client to access the PostgreSQL service on your local machine. Of course, in a productionized environment, these two are usually separate. The DBMS and the database will be somewhere in server, and while you will be using the client application on your machine. But for our purpose, for this course's purpose, we're going to put them in the same machine, which is your local machine, and you will be the user. So regarding installing the PostgreSQL, the first step is to download and install PostgreSQL. And during installation, PostgreSQL will create a default database on your machine. Once PostgreSQL is downloaded, we will use pgadmin to connect to the local host DBMS and access the default database. Then you will run a sample SQL to confirm the installation. Okay, now let's start. Let's first enter PostgreSQL, download in Google, and here you see the PostgreSQL download. So I'm going to click here. Remember to go to the PostgreSQL.org site, not others. These are maybe like some commercial companies providing PostgreSQL service. But for us, we just need to go to download. And because I am using Windows machine, I'm going to go to the Windows installer site. So this is the Windows installers. Of course, you are using like Mac or Linux, yours may different. The current PostgreSQL server version is 13. And I myself like to install a stable version. Some people may like to use the most advanced, but whatever it is, you can always, but whatever it is, the basic idea is the same. You go to this, you do a Google on PostgreSQL download and go to the latest version, the latest page, and download the latest version. And by the time when you install it, may not always be 13, it may be 14, 15, all these are possible. But the download and the installation process is the same. So let's download. If I'm using 13.3, I'm going to click on the download. And it's downloading. Let me pause the video and wait for it to complete. So download is complete. I'm going to just start running this exe file. And they actually asked me to install, so I click on yes. And now it's launching up. As you can see, my mouse is spinning. I'm waiting for it to start up. Okay, so now we have an interface. Let me close the background to make it easier to see. Now you have the welcome sign, you have click on next. And basically, I believe all of you have a lot of experience in downloading and installing applications, which should not be difficult for you guys. Just going through all next. And now in the password part, you need to provide a password for the super user Postgres. Remember, this is super user, so you need to write it down somewhere. That super user, you need to remember this. Super user's name is Postgres always. Then password, whatever password you are going to use. I'm going to enter some password. Remember to write this down because there's only one chance. If you forget, you forgot. You have to reinstall, uninstall and reinstall. Everything you make in the Postgres, it will be lost. So make sure you remember this password. And the default port is 5432, which usually works. I'm going to use keep the same. And default locale and start installing. Now it's ready to begin installation. I'm going to click next. It starts installing. I'm going to again pause my video recording and come back when the installation is done. Okay. So the installation is completed. The last question is whether you want to use some tool called Stack Builder. For our purpose, our course's purpose, we don't need it. So I'm going to uncheck it and click on finish. Now it's all done. Now if you opened up your Windows your program list, you will see an entry called PostgreSQL. We just installed PostgreSQL 13, right? So this is what we have seen, and inside here, there's a pgadmin 4. Now, let me start pgadmin 4. So after I click on pgadmin 4, pgadmin 4 started. And here, the first thing it asks me to input is the password. The password is the password you input when we install the PostgreSQL. It asks for the super user password. The super user is Postgres, right? And that's the password. You enter the password, and here, this is the password you are supposed to enter. I'm going to pause video and type in my password. And I just realized I really don't need to pause the video, but now that I already entered the password, I'm clicking on OK, and it shows up now. So you can see that there are like file, object, tools, help, all this information. But the most relevant to us is here, servers. I'm going to click on servers, and it opened up a series of servers that I have already created before. But I created those servers before for my previous lesson. And after I finished the course, I dropped them. That's why you see those all come with a cross. I'm going to right click on this and delete. I think I need to remove server. And remove one by one. I didn't expect that, but it's nice that I can show you remove server. So whenever you need, you can also do the same thing. Right click on the server name and click on remove. As you can see, the last course I had was summer 2021. Now, when I right click on the server, then click on create, I can create the server. The first server I'm going to use, connect to, is just our local host, right? So I'm clicking in localhost in our name, and in the connection site, it still will be localhost. And the port is default, database is Postgres, username is Postgres, and here I'm going to input the password. Save password, yes. And for the rest, you can ignore at this point. There are a lot of Postgres documentations online. You can Google them for each information here, each tab and which option you can choose to set them up. But for our course's purpose, this is good enough. I'm going to save it. And now you have our local host, local database. The default database name is the same as the default super user name, which is Postgres. So if you open, for example, you have open up a schema, you see public, you see tables, etc. Right? Now, remember we said PostgreSQL, when you install it, it generates a default database. This Postgres is the default database that PostgreSQL generated. And now we are connecting to it through the client tool of pgadmin, right? And now you can choose to run some simple SQL to show that you actually managed to connect properly. So I'm going to right click on the database name, Postgres, and choose the query tool option from the right click menu, which will open up a query tool for me. And I'm going to type in some simple SQL. I will create a table called test with a column 1, and I'm going to execute. And it says query create successfully, create table queries, create table, query returned successfully. Now, you don't see that showing up in table because I haven't refreshed yet. So I need to right click on table and choose refresh. And you can see that test table is created with 1 column. Now, don't worry about this create statement or the columns thing. We are going to have a detailed introduction later on. But basically, this is how you can confirm that your connection is properly set up and your PostgreSQL on your local machine is ready to use. Now that I'm going to type in, drop table test to drop it. Drop table query returned successfully. So if I right click on tables and choose refresh, the table is dropped. And that confirms that our Postgres installation is complete. So let's quickly review what we have done. We downloaded PostgreSQL, the latest version from PostgreSQL.org site. We installed the PostgreSQL, including the DBMS service and the pgadmin. And during the installation, Postgres created the default database called Postgres, as well as a super user Postgres. And I hope by this time, you already write down your password. And now the second step is we use pgadmin to connect to a local host DBMS and access the default database. We did that, and we ran a sample SQL to confirm the installation is successful and the connectivity is successful, right? So this is so much is for downloading and installing PostgreSQL.